tell me what was going on at the elections office today.
Yeah, so it was brought to our attention, St. Pete, it was at our St. Pete, downtown St. Pete early voting location. It was brought to our attention. We executed our plan that we had already in place prior to the in-person early voting starting. And it was what was told to us initially was that there were persons dressed in what looked like security guard uniform, and maybe had sidearms, so firearms on their hip. So we executed our plan. We contacted our points of contact within the sheriff's office, who then immediately responded to this situation. It then began to very much rain, so people started to disperse. But I was later told by the sheriff's office, the actual sheriff, I'm sorry, the sheriff told me that the persons who were dressed in these security uniforms had indicated to sheriff's deputies that they belonged to a licensed security company. And they indicated, and this has not been confirmed yet, that they were hired by the Trump campaign, and and that they would be back tomorrow. The sheriff then explained to me that he would be there with deputies to ensure that this tent area where these folks were set up and near our voters would not be allowed to be there. Both the sheriff and I take this very seriously. Voter intimidation, deterring voters from voting, impeding a voter's ability to cast a ballot in this election is unacceptable and will not be tolerated in any way, shape, or form. So we anticipated many things going into this election, not only cybersecurity, but physical security. We had a plan in place and we executed that plan.
So you kind of answered my question, what are your concerns about something like this? But this type of activity is not allowed, is that correct?
Well, first, Chip, I've never seen this before in my 17 years as election administrator. So this activity in regard to intimidating voters, deterring voters from voting, impeding, is absolutely prohibited under Florida law. And so when any of this is brought to our attention by our voters, or if we see this kind of activity, we will take immediate action. Because, Chip, if I may, what's very important is that our voters know that it is safe to cast a ballot in this election. And if anything that they feel is a threat to their safety or a threat to the process, immediately contact, obviously, either 911 or get with an election employee so that we can immediately address the situation.
I'm spitballing here only because you did talk to the sheriff himself. Any idea what their intentions were?
I don't want to speculate on what their intentions were. All I know that is if a voter feels that this is inappropriate, or feels threatened, or feels that they are being intimidated, we need to react to that, and that's what we did today.
And you said sheriff's deputies are going to be at that location tomorrow morning. Will you be there as well, or what's your?
Well, we've got canvassing board meeting also tomorrow, but I will have a deputy supervisor at that location. But like I said, law enforcement, I feel very confident in their abilities, and we as election administrators also have responsibilities to ensure the election goes smoothly. But there will be a deputy supervisor there tomorrow.
Any other locations that you're aware of that this was an issue?
That has not been brought to my attention. I am not aware of any other situations.
And am I missing anything? It seems like this is just such an unusual. You said that in your 17 years, this has never been an issue. I've never heard of anything like this. So I think
the biggest thing is that I want voters to know that we take this very seriously. It is safe to cast a ballot in this election. And if you feel that there is a situation that is rising to a level where you feel threatened or intimidated in any way, shape, or form, to either contact law enforcement if it's an emergency situation, calling 911, or get with an election official immediately so that we can resolve the situation with law enforcement as soon as possible.
Now, this is a stupid question only because of my ignorance, but why the sheriff's office versus St. Pete PD since this was in their
Yeah.
jurisdiction?
So here's the scope. So we have early voting at different locations throughout the county. We also have 20 other ballot drop-off locations. And on election day, we have 166 polling places. And what we thought was a more streamlined approach was the sheriff's response is the county. And he works in conjunction with jurisdictions. So instead of us wondering, is this Treasure Island, or is this Madeira Beach, or is this St. Pete, or is this unincorporated? Instead of us trying to figure out who to call, we said, okay, let's have one point of contact where the sheriff will break up the county and would be able to then communicate to the appropriate jurisdiction within that community also, so that we can get an immediate response to a situation.
Perfect. Anything I'm missing? Anything you'd like to add? I mean, it seems like you hit on everything. That the bottom line is, you want voters to know that this is not acceptable. We've taken care of it, and it's safe for you to come out and cast your ballot.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.